Okay, certainly for me and our team, and certainly our entire staff, we're excited about getting back into a game week situation. We've been off now, obviously, for those that are following us the last few weeks, and preparing our football team to play. It's been a challenge, certainly. Many of you know that we had battled a spike in positivity rates, and we believe that we sit in a very good position right now, and we're preparing our football team for a very challenging opponent in Florida State. As many of you know, Mike Norvell is the new head coach, and have a lot of respect for Mike and what he's accomplished. And again, I've known Mike and followed him, and love what he's been able to do, and certainly at Memphis, but at Arizona State as a coordinator. And in very short order, he'll have Florida State back in a very good position nationally. I thought they did some really good things this past weekend. Again, Florida State is very talented. It's getting to the point where it seems as though they've found their quarterback in Jordan Travis. We'll prepare for a couple of other quarterbacks. We know very well about James Blackman. We've faced him as well, but look like they've gotten some energy from Travis. Outstanding running backs, talented wide receivers, and so we know the challenges that we're going to face with this offense. Again, I think Terry and Wilson, two outstanding wide receivers. All of them are big play kind of players. I think from a defensive standpoint, I think if you look at this team overall, there's probably 6, 7 first-day draft picks. Candow, Wilson, Gaynor, Samuel, the safety who's been out for a couple of weeks, certainly is a big-time player. So very talented on defense as well. And, they've played some different defenses over the last couple of years, so they're starting to get more accustomed to the system that they're playing. So a lot of respect for the talent that we're going to see. And, again, we're coming off a long layoff, and we're going to have to be at our very best and get off to a really good start. We didn't get off to a good start in our opener against Duke, and it factored into the game. We got off to a great start against South Florida, and it did factor into the game, and we'll need to get off to a good start against Florida State. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
All right, Coach, our first question is from Eric Hansen of the South Bend Tribune.
Did you evaluate what you saw from the scrimmage, what you took away from your Sunday scrimmage, if you indeed had it? And the second part of that is, with your depth chart, are you philosophically now filling in who would be the starters and the backups, or does this reflect your COVID numbers as well, and those people would be left off?
Yeah, I mean, I think that from a scrimmage standpoint, we wanted to get the speed that you can't duplicate in, just a scout team preparation. And certainly being off for a couple of weeks, you've got to try to bring that speed. And our defense is a good group to go against. They bring a lot of speed to the equation relative to preparation. So it was important for us, on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, to go against each other. And I just think in terms of being able to prepare, and look, I'm no expert on preparing a football team after 2 weeks off, after playing 2 games. It's the first time that I've done it. But I think I have enough sense to know that you have to duplicate, the speed of the game. You've got to tackle. You've got to be able to do some of those things leading up in your preparation. And I think that was a big day for us yesterday, where we were able to get in a lot of individual work, technique, get some of the rust off from that perspective, special teams, situational work, and then finish up with, situationally moving the chains. In terms of who's available, we feel like, we'll continue to test during the week. So the roster is a fluid situation, but we're in a very good place relative to our two deep. So we're going to be just fine for Florida State.
Our next question is from Lou Samoji of Blue and Gold Illustrated. And Lou, I believe you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. There's been a lot of conversation about Tommy Rees as a first-time coordinator. But what influence and impact has Lance Taylor had, especially because the running game was such a point of emphasis, specifically the outside zone, early on this week or the first month?
Yeah, so everything is about a collaboration, and Tom is a part of that. Lance certainly, Jeff Quinn, Coach McNulty, and utilizing his experience and time as an offensive coordinator. There's great collaboration, great cohesion. We're running the system that we felt was going to best take advantage of the players that we had. And I think it's just coordinated very, very well. Tom has done a great job of empowering those in the room to get the job done as it relates to the running game. And so, again, when we're talking about staff, it's always about great communication, great collaboration, and I think it's gone very well.
Our next question is from Teddy Greenstein.
Hello, Coach. Good to see you.
Thanks, Teddy.
How challenging was, the last week or so, maybe dealing with uncertainties? What all have you learned from the situation?
Yeah. What have we learned from the situation? You put in place procedures and protocols for the day-to-day operations, and some of the things that you can't, kind of see happening are victories. And what I mean by that is when guys are excited and good things happen, guys want to celebrate. A celebration in the game probably cost us 4 or 5 guys because there was that opportunity. Guys, when they want to sing the fight song, it's hard to keep their mask up. And I'm just giving you just a glimpse of the little things that are between the lines when you're writing up procedures and protocols. You don't think about it's so hard to win, and then when you do win, the first thing out of my mouth is, "Hey, stop celebrating, put your mask on." You have to do that, and so that's probably what we're all learning, is that it's so hard, given the circumstances that we're in, that we have to be on top of every little thing, regardless of the circumstances. And that's just kind of a tidbit as to what's been challenging and what I've learned and what we're learning during this COVID that is very difficult to manage while you're playing. Can you do it? Yes, but you're learning every single day.
Our next question is from Tyler James of the South Bend Tribune.
Hi, Brian. The wide receiver position hasn't produced a ton of catches in the first 2 games. Are you comfortable with the passing game operating through the tight ends and running backs, or do you anticipating that changing in the coming weeks?
I think, eventually we're going to look for some more production from that unit, but it has been, quite frankly, one that has not had great continuity yet. We've had some guys out and injured. I think what you'll see, Tyler, is that unit will be one that provides a little bit more consistency and continuity for Ian in the passing game. And I do see a unit that will produce at a higher rate. But it's still going to be one that takes some time. There's a lot of first-year players that are out there, but I do believe it has a high ceiling. We're probably going to see Kevin Austin, this week for the first time. Ben was out with a hamstring. We'll get him back. Lindsey was not at 100%. We think he's at 100. So, in answering your question, I think it's really about let's keep playing. Let's not take 2 weeks off. Practicing, consistency, a little bit more continuity, and I think you're going to see in time an offensive passing game that's going to resemble the kind of talent that I think we have at that position.
Our next question is from Chris Heidel of Herb FM.
Hey, Chris Kelly, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Talking about Florida State, I know they are 1-2 on the season. They had a tough game against Jacksonville State. Are they still a dangerous Florida State squad? Because I know they had to play against Miami, and I know you guys only had 2 games, before this whole COVID thing started. You still think they're still a dangerous squad that could actually turn this thing around?
Oh, without question. This, as I mentioned, I think there's 6, maybe 7 first-day draft picks. Very talented football team. They needed to find their identity offensively. I think they have found somebody that they feel comfortable with from an offensive standpoint at the quarterback position. Now that kind of allows them to get into a rhythm offensively. Defensively, they were in 3 down and 4 down. Maybe they have found where they want to be there as well. So, yeah, this is a team that will continue to get better from week to week. It's an established head coach, one that's been successful, knows what he's doing, knows what he wants, and Mike will get this football team playing better football. I just hope it's not this weekend.
Our next question is from Pete Sampson of The Athletic.
Brian, you referenced a couple times you've never been through anything like this. Is the closest parallel that Florida State is sort of like a season opener? And then also Ian Book had referenced, I think the last time we talked to him about, he missed spring practice, chemistry with the receivers. Was that pretty high on your list of stuff you wanted to get back on track Sunday during the scrimmage?
Yeah, a good question. Not sure that I feel like this is an opener as much as it is, understanding that it's really hard to take 2 weeks off and think that you can just pick it up without a lot of work and a lot of attention to detail. I think we can go out and play well, but it's going to require everybody to a man to really be purposeful in their work this week. We've played a couple of games. We've had a lot of practices leading into this, but 2 weeks off definitely is something that you can't just think we're going to roll it back out there and all things are good. It's not. It's going to require, as I mentioned, really leaning on an attention to detail that maybe they've never had before. So making them aware of that. As it relates to the quarterback position, yes, I would say that the scrimmage has a lot to do with the timing of the quarterback, seeing things, the quickness, the pace, not being able to throw live means a lot. And so the scrimmaging live is certainly about tackling, and that's a component that I had mentioned earlier. But this has a lot to do with the timing of the quarterback as well and giving him the chance to see things, react to things, because it happens so quickly, especially against a pretty fast defense like ourselves.
Our next question is from Patrick Engel.
Hey, Brian, I think if I'm remembering correctly, it's last start was Ian Book's 25th. In that time from when he took over the job to now, what have you seen from just how he's progressed from when he's got here, what he's given you with that position, and kind of the things you kind of foresee in the next however many starts he makes for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'm looking at it through a microscope, I guess is the best way that I would put it in terms of analyzing everything that he's done. He's a winner. He wins football games. And maybe it doesn't necessarily always pass the test for those that try to evaluate Ian Book in terms of every little category. But he wins, and he is a guy that prepares the football team so well. He is prepared himself, and he brings a sense of calm to the unit that they believe that they're going to win no matter what the circumstances are. And that's been the case every time Ian Book is run out on the field as the starting quarterback at Notre Dame, except maybe one game that we've played, and that was the Michigan game. So he just brings that sense to the unit. He brings an incredible confidence to the other players on that offense, and so. I don't know that I spend that much time, evaluating all these little things about where he's grown as much as he's helped the other 10 players around them believe that they're going to win, and that's a pretty good thing for a quarterback to have.
Our next question is from Lane Higgins of the Wall Street Journal.
Hi, Coach. I had a question about how difficult it was to continue with practices and prepare the team in light of, I think at one point you had almost a third of the players out. And do you have any concerns about their fitness heading into this game against Florida State?
Yeah, so they go through a mandatory isolation or quarantine. After that time, they're evaluated with a cardio, EKG, medical workup. And so all of that is out of my hands. They are handled by our medical staff. When they are when they are fit and they are cleared, they give them back to me. And then it's my job to reintegrate them back into football as we see it relative to reps and the football kind of day-to-day routine. For those that are in quarantine after 7 days, if they do not turn positive, they can be working out in a modified quarantine. I have found that those players that have been caught up in contact tracing that are in a modified quarantine certainly come back faster because they've used that time for cardiovascular conditioning. That hasn't been an issue at all. We now have a number of guys that are back this week or have been coming back over the last, so I'd say 5 or 6 days that have been in isolation. And we have had to bring them along a lot slower. And so how's that going to affect us coming Saturday? Well, I would say primarily if a player was normally playing 50 plays, they may be, in our mind, playing probably half of that. So that's kind of how we have processed that out during this time.
Our next question is from Mark Skoll of WNDU.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned earlier that we could see Kevin Austin for the first time this Saturday. How often could he be on the field on Saturday? And when he's 100% full go, what kind of player do you have in Kevin Austin?
Yeah, he's going to be modified this week. I would say that we're hopeful that he's in that 15 to 20 play range. We'll see how he continues to progress. That won't be entirely my decision. That'll be a medical decision that's made as well. He's on track for that, but we'll see how that goes through the rest of the week. what kind of player do we have? Well, based upon what we have seen prior to, explosive, rangy, outstanding ball skills, and a guy that can open up the game. You know, he can take the top off of coverages. He can catch it and go the distance, and he can win one-on-one matchups. A guy that would be nice to get on the field for us.
Our next question is from Angelo DiCarlo of Redeemer Radio.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to clarify because I don't see if you had any latest numbers that were released yet, but did you have any positive tests in the last week? And when you said 4 to 5 guys celebration, you lost a couple guys. Was that a literal thing that actually happened, or was that a hypothetical of what could happen?
We will be releasing, we didn't have all of our testing completed. All the results were not in. I believe Katie will be getting that out a little bit later this afternoon, so they are complete for you. We didn't want to give you incomplete results. So you should be getting that pretty soon. I was referring to a potential situation, not hypothetical. We can't be 100% certain. But when there's celebration and you know, especially after a potential big play or a touchdown, or even in the locker room when guys are excited, and you look back and somebody had turned positive, you wonder about the potential face-to-face spread there. So I think less hypothetical and more about being conscious of that all the time. And that's why we try to learn and take every situation and examine it accordingly. And by the way, congratulations on your impending fatherhood. Excited for you and your wife, and it's going to be fun to see him, boy or girl, here in the South Bend area.
Coach, our next question is from Adam Rittenberg.
Hey, Brian, I was just wondering, with you guys part of the ACC this year, how you're looking at the conference differently at all, especially these last few weeks when you've had, obviously you guys haven't been playing, how you're viewing even teams that aren't on your schedule or cross tape or any of that stuff.
Yeah, we have plenty of time to watch some games. It's just really creating a library of film for us and a glimpse. You know, our schedules are usually scattered throughout various conferences, so life's a little bit easier when you know your opponents and lining them up in one conference. But quite frankly, a lot of our focus has been on our own team, our own situation, and getting our situation such that we could begin in such a small degree back into a conditioning activity, weight training, and getting our testing under control. So as much as I would have loved to have sat around and watched a lot of these ACC games, we were with our team over the weekend, getting back to practices and getting them back to where they need to be.
Our next question is from Lane Higgins of the Wall Street Journal.
Hey there. One more question for you, Coach.
Sure.
So I think before there was the outbreak on the team, you mentioned, or after the outbreak, I suppose, you mentioned that a team dinner was held and that you think that event was possibly responsible for some of the team spread. Mm-hmm. But do you have a sense of how these players are first encountering coronavirus? I mean, is it from, the classes that they're taking with other fellow students outside of football practices, or, what have you learned about how the virus is being spread right now?
Yeah. So just going back to what I was saying, we were at a team meal, and we feel like while the guys were eating with their masks down, certainly there could have been some spread there. Again, we're not scientists, and it's almost impossible for us to directly link it. We're trying to do the best we can in terms of trying to figure out some safeguards where we can improve our own procedures and protocols. So exact, time and place. I couldn't give you an exact place that it was at a team meal, but we think it's an educated guess. Where is it coming from? We have young men that are active on campus, that are not just sitting in their dorms. And when I mean active on campus, that are on different committees that interact on campus. And so whether it's there or whether it was 2 or 3 guys playing a video game together and were not exhibiting good judgment and didn't have their masks up at the time, certainly could have come from that. Or we're in a car together and didn't have their masks on and somebody was asymptomatic. So there's just so many levels to this that it becomes maddening in a sense to try to track every little movement, knowing this, that if you don't have a mask on, you can't be in our building. If you don't have a mask on the sideline, you can't be on the sideline or in the locker room. And that's really what this is coming to. And because the virus is going to be the virus, and it's not going away. And we have to understand, if we're going to continue to play in this environment, we have to be even more vigilant than we were in the past.
Our next question is from Pete Byrne.
Hi, Coach. I've got 2 questions for you. First, I'm just curious how Kyle Hamilton looked in the scrimmage and if he's 100% in your mind. And secondly, getting back to the difficulty you've touched on trying to play after a 2-week layoff. Aside from yesterday's scrimmage, are you planning on doing anything different this week than you would in practice in terms of trying to prepare them a little more for game speed? Or is it pretty much just what you did yesterday?
Yeah, we kept Kyle out yesterday, but he'll be available this week to play, so we can settle down Irish Nation. He is going to play this weekend. Just precautions from yesterday, but again, I think it's like anything else, right? We're in our preparation. There's so many factors that go into preparing this football team with the layoff that we've tried to go back to a routine. So today is Mental Monday for our unit. We're going to be in weight training, conditioning, and meetings, and mental performance training. So we wanted to get back to our habits and our routine and really get this back to what a normal week would be like, because nothing's been normal for the last couple of weeks. So getting back to normalcy, getting back to a routine has been really my focus with our football team leading into this week.
Our next question is from Andrew Mentok of Blue and Gold Illustrated.
Hey, Coach. Throughout the entire pandemic, whether your COVID-19 numbers were low or obviously you're dealing with an outbreak, you've been very transparent throughout this process. And that's not necessarily the approach every other program is taking, without necessarily commenting on what other programs are doing. Why do you think it's important to be so transparent throughout this process, through the highs and the lows?
Because they have parents. They have parents that are concerned about their health and safety. We feel like it's very important that those that love them, those that care about what's going on a day-to-day basis, should know what's happening within the program. We have nothing to hide. We're fighting through this coronavirus like everybody else, and safety and health of our players is at the core of that. We felt like if we were going to hide numbers, there would be a sense of distrust, and we didn't want to start with that. We wanted to start with transparency and get the numbers out there and let everybody know that we're going to work through this, and we're committed to playing. Our players are committed to playing. and we had built in some flexibility in the schedule, preparing for this potential. We were hoping it didn't get to this, but it did, and that we would overcome this adversity, and that our football team would get through it, which they're doing a great job. I'm so proud of how they've handled themselves, and now they get a chance to prepare for a football game this weekend. So that's been at the forefront of the way we've wanted to do this, whether players were given the option immediately to opt out and not even play, to addressing the numbers. That's just the way we've chosen to do it.
And with that, we will wrap it up today, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.